Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going to go over form and content. These are strong foundational vocabulary terms that will carry us through the entire semester. They'll be great as we discuss other works of art as well as our own works of art. What is behind me right now is actually a miniature version of a dilapidated tennis court. And this tennis court's actually in North Shore Yacht Club in Salton Sea. Salton Sea is in the lower desert region. So for many years, I'd go out to this region, location is about 3 hours away from us in the high desert, and I would study these old spaces. So this was actually functional many years ago, and as you can see, we can't really use it today. So I decided to create these little miniature versions of these spaces. And so this has some clay utilized in for the tennis court itself, real dirt that I sifted through to kind of make it look miniaturized. And then I use different types of weed forms, and for the actual screen that is for the net of the tennis court is a screen from a window. And then I just painted it and made it look a little bit more older, and I really enjoyed that process. So the idea of form and content in this particular aspect is form is the materials that I used and the overall design. And then content is really what it is about. And it could be about what it is to the viewer or what it might mean to me as the artist. To me, these places are very historical. They're forgotten. And I feel that I'm archiving them in a way that we can remember them, even though we tend to might look at it as an eyesore or just unfunctional today. And then also the idea of the progression of society, how we move on and we continue, and recreation, and just a lot of information is embedded with that. But without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will continue discussing the idea of forming content. So let me go ahead and get to this full version. And here we are with art and the meaning. So form, as I mentioned before, are materials that are used, so the medium. Materials could be, let's say if it's a dry media piece, it might be graphite, charcoal, Conte, pastel chalk, and so forth. Composition is really about the principles of design, the elements that are utilized. So it might be in the discussion of line, shape, texture, the implied movement of the work of art, and so forth. Content. Content is the term that we can really spend hours discussing, because this is now the storyline behind the artwork, or the idea about the piece, or the collaborative effort of what everybody else thinks about the work and what the artist is trying to intend with the piece. So subject matter, the general idea, or even the deeper meaning of the idea. The message, what is the artist saying about the work? What are they trying to convey to the viewer? And then iconography can be added into that. And those are basic symbols and forms that are used that we can try to piece together to understand what is happening. Like, for example, again, behind me, we understand that it is a dilapidated recreational site of a tennis court, but also it looks very desert environmental. So giving added elements of maybe region or the object itself or the logos, the design, it can go on and on from there with iconography. We are going to look at two pieces. So they are both called The Kiss. This is by Auguste Rodin, and this is back in the 1800s. So 886 is when this was created. Just an FYI, the Norton Simon in Pasadena has some of Rodin's sculptures, which is only about an hour away for us driving in the high desert. So when given the opportunity, I highly recommend. There's a lot of great artworks local to us in the LA region. Okay, so we have these two figures. They're done in marble, sculpted in marble. They look extremely lifelike. You can tell the anatomy, the proportions, the way they're designed looks very eloquent and very lifelike. So this would be, remember the three appearances of art? Representational. So this would look lifelike, like reality. Let's go to the next piece. Now this is by Constantine Brancusi, and this is also called, again, The Kiss. This is done actually later on. This is 1916, so 1900s. You kind of would think it's reverse, right? So again, 1900s, called the kiss. This is very different. It's done in limestone, so similar to the idea of working with a massive form, but this is more abstracted, right? Even could be kind of borderline non-representational in a way. The proportions of these figures are in rectangular form. They don't really have an aspect of maybe where we understand the anatomy or proportions, but we do see this moment. So you have these two figures that are embracing. Their hands are so clunched together that they just wrap around one another. Also, their eyes are open, and it almost becomes like a singular eye because they're so close, like a cyclops in a way. And you can see that their lips are touching and they're just in full embrace. Nothing can go through or be in between them, right? They are full in one accord. It almost looks like one rectangular cube, right? A rectangular box, a form. So it's really interesting with this concept. We are going to now compare and contrast these two pieces. Woo. Okay, so again, we have on the left-hand side, Brancusi's The Kiss in the 1900s, and then on the opposite right-hand side, we have Rodin's marble piece called The Kiss in the 1800s. So you guys remember form. Form is purely the way that it looks, the materials that are utilized, the principles of design. So I went ahead and added this information already. Let's look again. Brancusi's The Kiss is the rectangular block, and this would be abstract. It could even be a little bit non-representational, as I mentioned before. The art and appearance, just purely looking at it, we can already state what it may look like in the appearance. Then we go to the opposite with the realistic figures. We would say that they are representational with Rodin's, and they're naturalistic. So they look realistic. They're actually resting as they're seated on that platform. And the way that they're designed, it looks very lifelike. Then we're going to go with another point. So these are the materials that are utilized. So again, with the left-hand side, we're looking at Brancusi's rectangular block of The Kiss. We can see that it's shaped as a cube or more of a geometric form. It is done with limestone. It's more of a simple design, so more simplistic, geometric. If we go to the opposite side with Rodin's The Kiss, we can see that there's detail involved, right? All the different shapes and forms of the anatomy, the muscular structure, the rib cage, the way that the figures are positioned. There's a lot of ingenuity to that in sculpting this realistic form. It's in marble and it's very organic. So it has an organic shape form to it. Organic quality is irregular shape. So that would be humans, that would be stuff found in nature, animals, and so forth. Now we're going to look at the content. So the content, again, is where you can get more involved. You can have hour-long discussions, and this is really fun to really understand the content. And even if it's not the original artist's intent, it's also what we get from the work. As artists, we love that. We love to hear other opinions of what people are saying or thinking about the pieces. So content. So Brancusi's again on the left-hand side of the screen. That is the one that is the cubist form, geometric form. And that's more about the idea of love, perhaps. So the idea that two people are interconnected, they're in sync, they know each other well, and they just have more of that idea of how love can be. And then number two, the figures, if we look at the content, we understand that they're kissing, it's an embrace. Let's go to the opposite side. On the right-hand side, again, Rodin's The Kiss. This is marble with the realistic form. This is more about the feeling of love. So the idea of that embrace, because they are human figures, we can connect with the human form. So more about the feeling that's maybe associated with love. And then again, it is the same as the opposite side. It is about figures embracing. So there is a common thread in this compare and contrast with Rodin and Brancusi's. It's more about the idea, the feeling, but also the embrace. And thank you, everybody. That is what I have for you today, to just talk about comparing and contrasting. We will discuss this more as we continue on throughout the semester. Compare and contrasting, form and content, as well as just utilizing form and content in our daily activities, and language in this course will be something that is essential. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a great day.